County.
I'm David Kosim, MP for Pokot South, West Pokot County.
My name is Abdul Rahim Daoud, MP for Nominees, Meru County, and a member of this committee.
Nelson Rapkwech, MP, Belgut constituency, Kericho County.
Good afternoon, Caleb Amisi, MP Saboti.
Didoraso, MP Saku, Marsabit County.
Emase
Mary, MP Teso South.
Stephen Mule, MP Matungulu.
Nakuru Town East constituency.
Naisula Lesuda, MP Samburu West.
We also have the Parliamentary Secretariat. Sitting in for the clerk of the Assembly is Florence Abonyo. Introduce your team.
Florence Atenyo Abonyo, Director, Audit, Appropriations and other select committees. To my left is a team from the Secretariat of the committee.
Thank you. Penina, if you allow me to call you by your first name, we are going to engage you in the next 90 minutes to do exactly what I said we should, to establish your suitability or otherwise to hold the office to which you have been nominated. We have, that's why we're giving you 90 minutes. So we expect that you will be able to answer all the questions put to you clearly, precisely, without too many stories. We expect that you'll address the committee through the chair, and also our members will be asking questions to you through the chair. This is not an adversarial proceedings, so feel free and relaxed to tell us whatever we ask you to tell us so that we can be able to move together. For you to start off, we will give you, after a few preliminaries, 10 minutes or less to tell us your story. Who is Penina Malonza? Your journey through life to where you are sitting now. Before we do that, we need you to comply with a few basics. I want to ask you if you have the necessary documentation. If you have sent us copies, we'll require your originals to be checked against the copies you sent to our staff, so that we are sure what you have sent us is what you have. Do you have a tax compliance certificate?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a clearance certificate from the Higher Education Loans Board?
Yes, sir.
Do you have clearance with the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a certificate of good conduct?
Yes, sir.
From the DCI. Have you ever been charged and convicted of an offense in a court of law?
No.
Are you a dual citizen? Being a citizen of Kenya, are you a citizen of any other jurisdiction?
No.
At a personal level, what is your financial net worth?
Honorable Chair, my financial net worth is 300 million.
How is it made up?
I have a breakdown. 240 million is prime land that is in Mombasa, Kajiado, Kitui, and Nairobi. I have shares in 4 circles with a total of 30 million. I have motor vehicles, 3 to be precise, 10 million. The other 20 million is from my farm produce and livestock that I keep. Thank you.
We'll now engage you in a manner that I advised, and I'll ask the Deputy Speaker to be the first to go. Oh, you're so sorry. Gun, 10 minutes, the journey of your life.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. First, I want to thank this Honorable Vetting Committee for this opportunity that you've given me to express myself in this vetting exercise. I know it is a very noble exercise in this country as a law-abiding citizen, and I want to say thank you. Again, I want to extend my gratitude to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, for nominating me for Cabinet Secretary, Tourism, Wildlife, and Heritage. Honorable Chairman, my name is Penina Malonza. Apparently, I only use 2 names because my parents never gave me a company name. I was born 48 years in the eastern part of this country, Kitui County to be precise. I grew up in a village called Itumba in Mutomo, just next to Kitui South Game Reserve. I attended my early education at Itumba Primary School from 1980 to 1987. I then proceeded to Ikuda Girls, which again is next to Sapo East Game Park, and I completed my whole-level education in 1991, where I was lucky to be enrolled at the University of Nairobi to take my bachelor's in BA Anthropology. I completed my degree in 1994, from where I took break like any other citizen in this country and began my early career. I was engaged by AMREF Kenya as a coordinator in their Kibera health program, health-based program, where I was in charge of coordinating women empowerment activity and rehabilitating commercial sex workers. I proceeded to Changamwe Baptist Church that is in Mombasa, where I was engaged as a project director. It was at this time when I was at Changamwe Baptist Church, I felt that I needed to go back to school. And in 2006, I enrolled myself in the Kenya Association of Professional Counselors, where I took a diploma in psychological counseling. In the same year, I applied to take a master's course at the University of Nairobi. And I was enrolled for a master's program in planning and management, a course that I took from 2006 to 2008. Upon completion, my desire for education was still burning. And I went back again. Lucky enough, I had applied for 2 masters, got the admission. And therefore, I postponed 1, and upon completion of my first master's, went back again in 2009 to do my second master's in public health at the University of Nairobi. Besides the straightforward education, I've also taken short courses in various universities within the country and outside this country. And to be particular, I'd want to mention 2 that are essential for this vetting. I've taken a course in recovery models of African countries at Chungwani University, Samoa Academy, Korea. I also took a course in health research at Addis Continental Institute of Public Health in Ethiopia. And finally, I would want to quote that I took a short course on leadership with International Leadership Foundation in conjunction with International Leadership University. Besides those three, I took others that they are in my file, which I presented, but it is good to mention that I've also taken finance for non-finance, management for non-governmental NGOs, proposal writing and resource mobilization at Daystar University, and peer counseling at Moi University. That marks my journey in education. In my career, as I said, I started with AMREF Kenya, transitioned to Changamwe Baptist Church, and later, while at Changamwe Baptist Church, the same year I completed my psychological higher diploma. The same year I was enrolled for a master's at Nairobi University. I also was employed by Compassion International Kenya as a program facilitator. As a program facilitator, I was in charge of 2 regions in this country. I was in charge of Meru, and I was also in charge of Kaloleni, Kilifi County. I rose from being a facilitator to a senior facilitator in the following year, where I was also in charge of 2 more other regions, including Kajiado, Nairobi, Meru, and Mombasa. But also, I was given the task to mentor 2 program facilitators. I was lucky, however. For the 5 years I worked with Compassion International, for me every year was a promotion. So in my 3rd year, actually after 8 months, I became the program supervisor, where I was in charge of programming activities of Compassion International in the country, mainly child sponsorship and programming with our partners who are churches across the nation. Later on, I was promoted to a senior supervisor within the same organization, where I began sitting in the country's management team as an extended officer, but still managing now a team of 6 program facilitators in terms of supervision. And lastly, I rose to a partner training and support manager in 2012. In this position, I was at the top management of the country, where I would sit in the country management team to program the child activities in this nation. I would say that this is where I was able to grow my leadership skills at a higher level, because I was in charge of the largest department at Compassion. I was in charge of curriculum development. I was in charge of training. I was in charge of early childhood program. I was also in charge of child protection, and I was also in charge of the health matters in the country, and also I was in charge of HIV programming activities in the country. Honorable Chair, I want to say that I am a mother, a widow, a mother of 1 and a widow, and I am the firstborn in a family of 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Penina. We'll now open up to due, starting with the Deputy Speaker.
Good afternoon, Ms. Penina Malonzo. First, I want to start by congratulating you for being for being nominated as Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, Wildlife and Heritage. Congratulations. My question is this. We know that less attractive tourist destinations have like Spain, have 50 million visitors a year. Kenya is yet to hit the 10 million mark. It has not done so in 15 years. And yet, at the same time, we know that we have challenges with our wildlife, which is our biggest tourist attraction, is also not doing well. The wildlife is dying. There's human-wildlife conflict. And then there's also some threats to our wildlife, which is our biggest attraction. What do you intend to do as Cabinet Secretary for Tourism and Wildlife and Heritage to attract visitors into Kenya and bring us the much-needed foreign revenue? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, Chair. Penina, my name is Kimani Shongo, as has been mentioned. Sorry, I came late for the interview for Kikuyu. That you have filled the one that since it's done by hand. On deferred income, item number 21. You are selling land for 50 million shillings in the year 2026. Is that correct? Is that correct?
Yes.
Then item number 23, sources of income, where you are told to list sources and amounts of all income received during the calendar year preceding your nomination and in the current calendar year. You are saying you have donations from friends and family of 10 million shillings. Is that correct?
Yes.
You must have very rich friends.
Thank you.
Now, my question on the land sale. How did you determine that you will sell land in 4 years to come for 50 million shillings? And maybe you would need to look at the form if you have it. Whether it could be a mistake or it's actually what you intended to fill in. That's on the form. Maybe you may have to look at it. Because I would really want to know how you are able to determine the value of land in the future. I have not seen any value who is able to determine value of land in the future. Two, on policy matters now, away from this, we have for long relied on our beautiful beaches, as we have said, not in a very good way to foreigners. Domestically, or rather in the country and also in the region. And with the opening up, I've seen the President trying to persuade all our neighbors to open up our borders. What efforts would you apply if you are approved as Minister for Tourism to encourage those of our neighbors who are in landlocked countries to utilize those beautiful beaches, or are we only going to focus on Wazungus from the West? Two, also in terms of marketing, what measures do you intend to take? I see small economies like Rwanda advertise on CNN, on Al Jazeera. I've hardly ever seen an advert for any of our tourism destinations on those platforms, and even online, maybe on online platforms around the world. What measures would you apply to market our country as a tourist destination? Thank you.
authority assigned to a state officer in a manner that, among others, demonstrates respect for the people, brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office, and promotes public confidence in the integrity of the office. Ms. Malonza, it is in public domain that you had a nasty fallout with your governor, then Julius Malombi. And about 5 months or so before the elections of 2017, you indeed defected, as it were, and teamed up with Senator David Musila as his running mate in the subsequent election, while still serving as deputy governor under Governor Malumbi. There was an incident at a public rally sometime in at Kitui South constituency to walk naked in the streets of Kitui in protest against Governor Malumbi for instigating yahoos in the county. The governor is reported, Governor Malumbi that is, that you had forsaken your official property, that she has forsaken her official duties and now spends much of her time dining with my political opponents and the detractors as they plot my downfall ahead of the... I'm not saying there's anything wrong with falling out with your governor or even defecting. That's within your right. But the fact that you could form of an opponent of the office that speaks volumes about your loyalty, principles, and again, really racist ethics. What do you have to say about this? Thank you.
Penina will take 4 questions, then you will answer them in the order they came.
Mr. Speaker, sir, as is part of our duty, when you're doing public appointments, the Parliamentary Approval Act, we have this schedule that the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah did go through. And one of the requirements is that we are supposed to determine the net worth of individuals before they assume office. Maybe one of the reasons could be that in another 5 years we compare and see whether they have made any benefits out of maybe wrongly from the office, and probably also to give confidence to those many mamambogas and bodabodas that they are getting wealthy people that can take care of their interests when they go to office. Now, in this particular form that the nominee has filled, the area that Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah noted, I want to add that there seems to be also a deputy governor house allowance at number 21, deferred income future benefits. Deputy governor house allowance by county government of 4.8 million in 2022 when she was not in office. I would like to understand that. And then, because this office, Mr. Speaker, is an office that will be dealing with international tourists, and therefore, of course, communication has to be very clear. If you look at the part where she has indicated the statement of net worth, which is number 25, she has actually verbally here said it is 300 million, but has written 300 trillion. Maybe she can confirm that. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Chair and the honorable members who have raised questions to me to respond. I'll start with the first question from the Deputy Speaker, where she said that looking at the numbers flowing in the country, Kenya is yet to attain 10 million visitors in a year. As she asked me to say what I intend to do to attract visitors in this country. One of the things that I will do is to promote domestic tourism in this country. This is a low-lying fruit that we can harness as a country, and especially at this
Point
time.
of order, Mr. Speaker. According to Schedule 4 of the Constitution, domestic tourism is a preserve of county governments. It's supposed to be done by governors and CCs in charge of tourism. The same Schedule 4 is very clear. It is a preserve of. So when the minister nominee is telling us he will dwell on domestic tourism, then she needs to check the Constitution what her role is.
I'm aware of the fourth schedule, the distribution of functional government, whereas the national government has standards, training and building capacity. When you look at the functions, you will realize that the county governments have the role of promoting culture and taking care of the county parks. And for my understanding, when I checked with the Constitution of Kenya, the fourth schedule, that was my finding. However, I'll be responding to this question and say, promoting domestic tourism is in the context of the function of the national government, where the national government is mandated to sell Kenya to international, regional, and domestic. And therefore, categorically, I believe I will be promoting in terms of marketing. I'll also, through marketing, seek to raise the numbers. How I will seek to raise the numbers in the country is by looking at our traditional markets that we have, and specifically picking on 5I value, and contacting through our vehicle that we call Magical Kenya, promotion, trade fairs, and end-to-end marketing with them. I'll also want not only to look at the issue of the numbers, because we can have numbers, but it's not bringing value to this nation. And therefore, I'll be relooking at our revenue collection modalities. Specifically, I'm pursued to say that one of my key strengths is automation. And I will want to pursue automating our systems so that we can even have e-ticketing for tourists, but also e-revenue collection. I'll also be looking at the very core function of the national government in capacity building and invoking Article 189 on collaboration between the two levels of government. I would develop, especially in the area of culture, legislation and policies that will direct upon contextualization, will direct our counties. At Article 189, probably to come back to Honorable Opio's question, the two levels of governments can consult, can work together in terms of implementing legislations. I'll respond to question 2. How did I determine to sell land at 50 million? As you realize with my breakdown on the net worth, I have in all my time invested in land. All my salaries mostly I invested in land. And therefore, I have a bit of chunks of land. This is not 1 acre and not 2 acres. However, I must agree that this is a personal valuation that I projected after being in the business for some time. On domestic tourism has not been promoted from still Honorable Kimani. What efforts will I apply? I believe I've already stated that I will intend to sell Kenya through marketing to both in the country and also extending to East Africa community. And I'm very happy to report that I was very brightened last time His Excellency the President visited Tanzania, and he talked about removing restrictions. I think that is a good step in terms of opening up. But to say, in terms of our country, I have taken keen interest in looking at the numbers of the consumers of our parks, of our beaches, and of what we call the niche products that we've already developed. And I've realized that very few people in this country hardly find time to retreat in a national park. And therefore, we will be running digital marketing. And this is because if you look at the world around, the generation that we have, we call it millennial. They are digital. They are using digital platforms. And I believe for us, even to attract tourists who are from this country to visit our national parks, I believe that we need to go online. And you're right on that, a spot on that. Because last time I checked field travel, I realized that Kenya was missing. Tanzania was there, Seychelles was there, Mauritius was there, but Kenya was missing. And therefore, I will be pursuing this type of marketing to attract. I'll also be looking at, for example, lower
political aspirant this year, during this year's elections. Maybe you could clarify this. Could these have been donations towards your campaign? And my specific question on that issue of donations of 10 million shillings, do you intend now as a public officer, if you are approved, to continue receiving these kind of donations from your very rich friends?
Thank you very much. It's true that you're right. The 10 donation was donated to my friends and family during the campaigns, and that's why I wrote it there. So it's not that I have rich, but I will not deny also I have rich friends.
With 300 million, Penina, you are certainly not poor.
Thank you. Indeed, I am.
The moral question you are being asked is whether you will...
I will not receive, I will not continue receiving, because I'm very aware that I will be a state officer, and the law is very clear. I believe it's Article 77 that I cannot receive donations. And again, I will not be filing for this period. Because
you can actually receive donations, but if it's more than 20,000, you declare.
I declare.
That's what the law says. And surrender to the state.
Yes, I was coming there. Sorry, I was coming there. That any donation, any gift to a state officer is a donation to the state.
Penina, I want you to focus on the questions a little more.
The last question.
Penina, if we listen to each other, it's better. When the chair is talking, you do the listening.
Sorry.
When you talk, I do the listening.
Sorry.
I would want you to focus on the questions that have been asked to you. You spent the last almost 20 minutes dancing around two questions. We have the other questions, and all these colleagues are waiting to ask you questions. So I would encourage you to answer. You remember I said concise and precise.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for that correction. The fifth question was from Honorable Wandai, stating that as I served as a deputy governor, I had a fallout with my governor, and I would want to state that a difference in point of opinion is not a fallout. I remember very well the Kisayani instance. Actually, I don't think the words were walking naked. Remember, I was serving a political office, and the interpretation, which I already know I have a task, interpretation of my words, I think they were misunderstood. And I want to state to this vetting team that personally I enjoyed a very cordial relationship with my governor. And I want to state among the deputy governors we had in the country at time, remember deputy governors' position and roles are not well stipulated apart from deputizing. But I must say that my governor was gracious enough to assign me 5 functions, which I did very well, and one of them was performance contracting, and at time our county performed. The issue on having been a running mate to Honorable Musira 5 months before, I was not a running mate. I don't see, I can't remember any time I even campaigned with him before the 5 months. What I want to state to this vetting team is that Deputy Governor's office is political, as well as Governor's office is political. And the interpretation by other people outside could mean otherwise. The only contentious issue that arose during my tenure was the issue of regional balance. And that one I can attest to this FETI team, that there was a discussion that I and the governor came from the region of Kitui, and the people of Mwingi felt marginalized. And that was the reason that my governor could not continue with me, because he jeopardized his position and his second term. And so, in my young career, when I was starting, and I realized that he had chose to take a running mate from Mwingi, Honorable David Musila came for me by the fact of my performance, and at that time the law was very clear. I was not bound by law. Thank you very much.
Robert Mbui's questions.
Question number 6 from Honorable Robert Mbui. It's true that I've written that there's a Deputy Governor's House allowance. This is a debt that I'm owing the county government of Kitui. There was a High Court ruling that declared has to be paid this amount. Quite a number of former deputy governors have been paid, but I've been pursuing it with the county government of Kitui, and it is clear that they will be paying. Thank you.
So they owe you, you don't
I
owe
owe
them.
them.
Okay. Owen Bayer.
I owe them, sorry.
Yes.
They
Last
owe
one.
me, sorry.
Naisula and George. We'll take the next 4. And Honorable Penina, try your best. Pick the question and give the answer. Too many stories are unhelpful.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Speaker, Chair. Penina, nice to meet you here. And I come from a very rich tourism area and I have a lot of interest. And I'll pose to you a few. One, poor policy execution has been the problem of tourism in this country. And a lot of tourism players have noted that there are 8 strategies in the Ministry of Tourism. 8. Polishing the JWL, National Tourism Strategy 2013, Tourism in 2030, Tourism Sector Plan 2013, 8 of them. But the tourism in this country has never gotten off its foot. One of the weakest links in the tourism is marketing and branding. This country misses out on a lot of trade fairs. It misses out on a lot of marketing opportunities abroad. And the previous minister, focused more on domestic tourism, which is not his function, according to Schedule 4, subsection 7. It's very clear that domestic tourism is an issue of county government. But the minister made us believe that he's marketing tourism by looking at local tourism instead of the job that he was given to do. What has happened is this country has suffered low numbers. That's why Kenya tries to move to the 10 million mark. It never gets there because the strategies are wrong. They've been very wrong. Listening to you, I don't see you departing from the thoughts of the previous minister. How will we trust you, those of us who have tourism-rich area, that you will actually get tourism to the 10 million number? And also, I would like you to address yourself to the issue of the open sky. The Minister for Tourism and Minister for Transport deliberately refused airlines from other airlines flying direct from Europe to Kenya, deliberately, because they were protecting something called KQ and killing tourism. And if you go to Malindi today, 80% of the hotels in Malindi are all dead and decaying. And that is a story for the whole of coast. And you know, there used to be something called the safari which would start at the coast and end up in Amboseli and end up in Nairobi and many other places. So everybody got some shilling out of the value chain of tourism. But the value chain was killed. How are you going to help this country to get to the 10 million mark and ensure that we go back to tourism being the highest foreign exchange earner for this country and create the million of jobs that we require in this country? I don't think that is a mouthful. And thank you.
Russell?
Thank you very much, Chair. Yes, I'm here. Penina, the Act 2015, which provides for compensation in the case of animals killing the citizen or injuring them or destroying their properties. There were hefty fines that were placed during the enactment of that particular act. Is it still feasible, considering the amount of money that has placed on individual compensation? Finally, is about a conservancy. Currently, there are NGOs, individuals, and groups who are coming up with conservancies, particularly in the region of Upper Eastern, the NRT, Northern Rangeland Trust. Which law does it operate under, and does it fall under your ministry? Thank you, Chairman.
Isola?
Thank you, Chairman. And Honorable Russell's question, but to the nominee, 70% of the wild animals actually live outside protected areas, meaning they are living with the communities, and their communities this wildlife, or the wildlife are actually at the mercy of the communities. But when it comes to human-wildlife conflict, the government takes ages to compensate the victims who are either injured or those who die or those that their property is damaged. Actually, in Parliament, in the Budget Committee, every other time we want to allocate money for that, members are really up in arms, because when you ask whether people have been compensated or in good time, that does not happen. So this has been a question up to a point where we were saying that vote should actually just, we should just get rid of it.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman. A nominee. National parks and game reserves better than those pieces of land with now very few animals to see. If they are becoming, to be preparing a policy so that those lands are returned to the ancestral owners. And if you're not going to do that, a time like now we have drought, would you be prepared to do a policy whereby those communities that neighbor those parks are actually able to save their livestock by structured grazing in those national parks and game reserves? The second question is from a constituent just now, and he's from Tharaka. You are familiar with Tharaka, having been a deputy governor of Kitui. Because in Kitui, we have a town called Mboka in Tana River, where traders actually move across the Kora National Park. Those who do not know Kora Game Reserve, it's an extension of Meru National Park. They come to a town known as Kaningo, and then to Seikuru, and they do trade. The question they are asking is this: are you also prepared to consider a corridor in the Meru National Park whereby the people of Tharaka would actually be able to move to Garissa, trade with the people of Mbalambala, my colleague is here, or the people of Mbalambala would come from Garissa, trade with the people of Tharaka, with a corridor, structured corridor in the national park as part of the control of wildlife-human conflict.
Yes, Penina, can I answer those four?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll start with Honorable Owen's question. That there's been policies in this ministry, and he's mentioned quite a number of them. And he's quoted that diverted to domestic, yet the focus should be international tourism. I want to assure Chairman that this ministry will be in safe hands. And the focus on international marketing, as I've said, marketing cuts across. And the digital platforms and our vehicle, Magical Kenya, that is involved in trade fairs and end-to-end
in
marketing.
The last 5 years.
But I also want to say
stating
that
the particulars of the beneficiaries,
we'll also be
indicating the
focusing
benefits, the benefiting sub-counties.
on
3, audit the procedure of how the
partnering
suppliers
with
are arrived at,
international
stating the tendering
marketing
process,
firms
providing the details
to
of
carry
fee
out
and the
joint
cost of the award.
promotion campaigns. This way, Kenya being a medium tourist destination will have more benefits from such campaigns and therefore raise the numbers. I'm also in one of the package in Magical Kenya, we have begun getting in touch with top operators and included our champions in the package. And I believe that we can use the top operators with the targeted materials to market us out there. Again, I'll be looking forward to collaborate with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs so that we can use our missions out there. We start a tourism desk and provide targeted materials for international markets. I know it is a concern, and I was watching when His Excellency Alfred Mutua was being interviewed by this vetting group, and I know the open sky issue and using of our missions out there came aboard. I want to say that I'll be also collaborating with my counterpart in Transport Ministry to pursue reinstating the charter planes that we used to have flying direct to Mombasa. I've grown in Mombasa, and I used to witness all that. And therefore, I want to assure you that that's an area I have an interest as I come aboard, and I will be engaging the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Question number 3, I'll combine it with
Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're watching us from. My name is Maki Wambogo, Sales Manager, Lookuptv Real Estate, and I'm here at our head office, Absa Towers, located at Reuters Street. Today, I'm here to talk about our newest project, that is Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, and it is located only 10 minutes drive from Cedar Mall. And in this project, we have proposed that we will be having a GMC Entertainment Center. This will be a replica of what we have in Kitengela, GMC Kitengela. We are also proposing a police post, so you are assured that security, once you invest here, security is good. And we are also proposing to have a playing ground. We are also going to have a community ground. So once you invest here, you don't have to worry about the security. The other things, among the things that we are doing, or the things that we have done already in Great Oasis Gardens, we have already done the marking fence, and the roads, the internal roads are already happening. We have started the malaming the road, and we are still in the process of doing the malaming of the internal roads. And we are also sinking a borehole so that we ensure that our investors in Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, will not struggle with water. We are also going to elevate a water tower so that we have a constant supply of water in this project. And we also have a caretaker on site. The caretaker is on site and he's there 24/7. And then we also have different sizes in this project. We are having 8, we are having quarters, we are having halves, and we are also having acres. One can buy in bulk, you can buy in big chunks, and that is why we are saying in Great Oasis Gardens, Nanyuki, we are saying that bigger is better. In this project, what you can invest in, you can invest in private schools, you can also do holiday homes, whereby you can do Airbnb, you can also do holiday homes and then you start renting, and you can also build houses and sell. You can also do apartments in this area. You can also do supermarkets. You can also build a mall and then you start renting. There is so much that you can do in this project because it is not controlled development. We are also located along Nanyuki Rumuruti Road, and this road is being proposed to be tarmacked by the government. So coming from Nanyuki, or coming from wherever you'll be coming from, it will be very easy to access the project because it is touching the Nanyuki Rumuruti Road, which is going to be tarmacked by the government. My number is +254 722 355 107. Do not be left behind. Call that number. I will work with you. If you are in Kenya, give me a call. We go for the site visit. We select the project. We start the payment. If you're in diaspora, send a representative, and I will be delighted to work with you. And as we say here in Lookuptv, we shine because you make us shine. God bless you. Thank you.
the Wildlife Compensation and Management Act that strictly doesn't allow grazing in the parks. However, I know that it allows grazing in the conservancies. And therefore, this is, well, we are tied by the law, especially in grazing in the national parks. I find a contradiction because the forest also allows, the forest law allows for grazing, And therefore, we'll be sitting with my counterpart to harmonize and see how best we can harmonize the areas that we can allow. Am I considering corridor in the structured parks? This is an area that I will need to look at the legislation and see if we can open. However, I know it's an area that it has players also in terms of the physical structure of the roads, and therefore I'll be looking at the documentation of that. Thank you.
The Honorable Mule, the Honorable Emase, Honorable Ferdinand, Honorable, there's a point clarification or? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, I asked a very important question on conservancies. History.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, for reminding me that question. I may not be aware of all the conservancies, but I will be looking into the report. But what I'm aware is that the conservancies need to be licensed, and therefore I'll be looking into the report on the mushrooming conservancies in this country. Thank you.
Yes,
Chair, maybe you can ask the clerk department. This place is so hot, so if they could do something about the hewa. But secondly, also you had called only three.
No, I'm giving the next lot is the Honorable Mule, Emase, Dawood, Ikaria, and Ferdinand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
I said one question each.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much, nominee, for coming. I want to get just one strategy from the nominee on how she'll deal with the following issues. Kenya has no longer become a favorable hub for the African market and the tourism. We know we are sort of losing that to Tanzania. The drought issue and environmental degradation in our parks, poaching menace, illegal wildlife trade, and the recent terror on attacks to the country, COVID, and now Ebola. How, just one strategy you'll use to deal with those issues to make sure that we regain the glory we used to know Kenya as the best destination for tourism. Thank you.
Master.
Thank you. To the nominee, you've been nominated to a ministry that requires serious reengineering interventions to bring it back to its rightful footing. You've just heard from members, and we've experienced as Kenyans, that international tourism has drastically reduced since COVID, and the country has not also fully embraced domestic tourism. Now, my concern is, whereas tourism, part of the tourism is devolved, domestic tourism, we find that other counties have not realized their potential, despite having unique and competitive attraction sites. So, as the nominee, what do you intend to do to bridge that gap? Because we must bridge that gap if the country is going to gain from the tourism sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker Chair.